What's up, everyone? I've been getting tons of questions about fermented chicken feed, so today I'm going to be answering your biggest questions. But first, let me tell you, or should I say remind you, why fermented feed is such a game changer. Dry feed is basically dead food. It's just sitting there providing basic nutrition. But when you ferment it, it comes to life. It's packed with probiotics, beneficial bacteria, and enzymes that can help your chicken's digestion, immunity, and overall health. So today I'm going to show you how to make fermented feed and answer your most common questions about feeding your flock the best, most nutritious food possible. If you have chickens or are thinking about trying fermented feed, this is the video you'll want to save and come back to. Also, please feel free to leave any additional questions in the comment section and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Adrian. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the fermentation process and kind of what that looks like and how to get started. I've done some more research since my first video, but there's a lot of things I've learned and some things that are going to help this fermentation process even more. So before we get started, I wanted to show you the chicken feed that we like to use. This is all purchased on Azure Standard. And this first bag is called Modesto Milling. This is a pellet feed, okay? So it says right here, pellets. This next one over here is also a layer feed, okay? This is a layer feed over here that I was just showing you. This is another layer feed. This one is Big Sky Layer Mash. So this is a great choice. It ferments really clean. This one is basically what I use for my scratch feed, if at all possible. I love this chicken wheat. The chickens love it. It ferments really clean. You're going to need to use some apple cider vinegar with the mother. You're going to use some mineral salt. I'm going to link all this in the description so you'll know exactly where we get the stuff. And then also this is called an Asian strainer, and then this one's a mesh strainer. I'm also going to have a link to those products in the description and share what we recommend to use. And then the buckets, okay, your containers. So this is the next thing that you're going to need. During this time of the year, which we're in summer now, it's a hotter season. I like to do smaller batches because the bigger batches tend to spoil a lot quicker. If you did watch my original video, you know that I use this, which is a 14-gallon drum. And it works really nice for like the winter months and maybe very early spring because it lasts longer in the cool weather. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on using 5-gallon buckets and a 2-gallon bucket. I'm going to start out with the pellet feed. And because I know a lot of y'all have questions on that, be sure that you watch the video all the way to the end because I'm going to show you how to make the pellet feed more palatable and not so runny, okay? Because if it's really runny, the chickens don't care for it much and it makes a big mess and it's kind of wasteful. But I'm going to show you later in the video how we like to thicken that up so that the chickens enjoy it more. All right. Make sure that you have your water hose nearby. We got our water here. Also, we're using this hose that has no lead in it. It's a drinking water hose, so it's a more cleaner option, okay? So we'll link that in the description as well. For this, I want y'all to understand for pellet or for crumbles, it's going to be the same concept. You're not going to put as much in here as you would your scratch or your mash type of feed. The reason why is pellets and crumbles tend to expand a lot more. And so we're only going to put, so like for the scratch, we would normally do half, but for the pellets or crumbles, we're going to do 1/4 of the bucket. So we're going to go ahead and fill that up. Right there is about 1/4. The way that this works is we're going to add 1 tablespoon of salt for every gallon of water. And then for 5-gallon buckets, you're going to use 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And so I'm going to go ahead and use this container, which is a 2-gallon watering can, so I can show y'all how this works, okay? If you have something like this, it's nice because then you know how much you're putting in. So this is 2 gallons. We're going to go ahead and dump that in. So we've got 2 gallons in here so far. All right, so right there was maybe a little bit more than 3 gallons. We're going to go ahead and put 3 tablespoons of salt. And then we're going to go ahead and stir that up. If you don't have one or the other, it's not the end of the world. But if you want the ideal mix for fermentation for a healthy bacteria then you're going to want to add the apple cider vinegar and the salt like I'm doing here. Just give it a real good stir. All right, and then we're gonna wait 24 hours minimum to use that. Put the lid on, and we're gonna leave a little opening there so that the gas can escape. Next feed is gonna be the layer feed mash. So for this one, it's going to be different. For the layer mash feed and for our scratch or chicken wheat type of feed, whole grains, we're doing half a bucket. So go ahead and fill this halfway. All right, that's half a bucket there. And then I've measured this out beforehand, and I know this takes exactly 3 gallons. So we're gonna fill this up all the way the same, about 2.5 inches from the top. And since I already know that it takes 3 tablespoons of the salt, I'm gonna go ahead and add that now, and it'll mix in real nicely as I'm pouring the water. 1, 2, and 3. Last thing, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with the mother. We're gonna make sure we stir that up real good because all the good stuff's at the bottom. 1, 2. And then we're gonna give that a nice stir here. So the Asian strainer is what you're gonna use when you go to serve scratch feed or a layer feed mash. So this bin right here, and then when you're serving the pellets, you're gonna use the mesh strainer. It's not fermented yet, but if you girls want to try a little bit. Oh man, y'all have already been fed today. These girls could eat all day long. That's nice and mixed in now. We're gonna go ahead and put our lid on the same way we did the other one. Snap it in about 3/4 all the way around, and then leave one spot for the gas to release. This is a batch of chick starter feed that's been fermenting for 48 hours. This light colored substance on top is called biofilm, and that's formed by the good bacteria. It's completely harmless and a part of the process. You can just skim it out with a spoon or leave it. I'm also taking out some of the excess liquid here and just putting it into my scrap bucket. In this specific section of the video, I'm going to cover how much fermented feed you should give each chick. So based on the research I did, it recommended 1/4 to 1/2 cup of fermented feed. I'm doing 1/2 cup here, and I'm even doing a little bit extra just because it makes it easier with the measurements. So I've got 5 chicks I'm gonna feed here, and that means I'm doing 2 cups fermented, and then I'm gonna do 1 cup dry feed, and that's gonna help make this more palatable and not so runny. All right, and the best time to feed these chickens, or your chicks, is first thing in the morning. We're just gonna go ahead and put this into their feeder here. Keep in mind that these portions and ratios may need to be adjusted to fit your flock specific needs. For example, my birds are on pasture every single day, and so this amount of feed is just enough, and actually I could probably decrease it and they would be fine. Some may need to do less or more depending on their situation. If you have chickens in a coop all day long, you might need to do a little more, but that's just something that you'll have to assess with trial and error. Okay, now on to adult chickens. So what's recommended is 1 cup of fermented feed per chicken. We have 22 chickens, so I'm doing 22 cups of feed. I'm gonna be doing 18 cups of fermented feed, and then I'm gonna do 4 cups of the dry feed to thicken things up and make it more palatable for these chickens. Once you thicken pellets or crumble feed up like this, it becomes a lot more desirable for the chickens. Also, over time, the more you feed them, the quicker you'll be able to eyeball it and figure out the portions they need without measurements. All right, so I've already measured out in the past. The food that I give my chickens is gonna be at this line. I already know that's how much I'm portioning for them. So I can just take this bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and go down here and get my pellet feed. Show you what this looks like. So see how it's very wet and kind of runny? So we're gonna take this and do kind of like, I call it like a pancake flip. That's the same motion you would do as when you're doing pancakes. Kind of flip it back towards you until it drains out as much of that water as possible. And then we're just gonna drop it in, get another one. All right, dump that in here. And then we're gonna take our dry feed, just pour a little bit on top there like that, until we get a nice consistency. All right, so now we've got a nice consistency where it's actually holding together. Well, my hand's already dirty, so throw it in here. So over here, we fermented this chicken wheat also the same time we did this. It's been 24 hours. I'll show you what that looks like. It's real pretty. You can see that it's starting to sprout in some areas. We're gonna take that and just throw a little bit on top here for them. A great way to keep mold out of your feed buckets is to keep them tidy by skimming off this stuff that floats to the top from your feed. So every day when you go to feed your chickens, if you're gonna give them fermented feed or if it's every other day, you should be taking, when you take your lid off, you're gonna, first things first, all this stuff that's floating around, you can go through and just kind of fish that out. You don't really want stuff floating on top. If it does, here and there, it's okay, but you can take that out and just toss it. But you're gonna take your spoon and just stir that up real good. And that actually helps keep this food, like it helps it to store longer if you keep it stirred every once in a while. And the smell is a sour smell, but it's not putrid or like a rancid smell, and that's what you want. In hot summer months, it's ideal to keep the fermented chicken feed at room temperature. However, the shade is a great option, or inside the coop where it's not exposed to the sun. Some people even put it in their refrigerator to slow down the fermentation process. Most people watching this video would do well to make smaller batches in like a 2-gallon bucket that they can use up before it spoils. As I mentioned previously at the beginning of the video, larger containers like this are better used during cooler months when there's less likelihood of spoilage due to hot temperatures. And a lot of you guys have been asking, what do you do with the extra, liquid? As long as the liquid smells good, it doesn't have like a putrid or rancid smell to it, like it has a nice sour, kind of sourdough smell to it, then you can reuse that. So we're just gonna take some of this feed. I put aside some of the dry feed already so that we can mix that in. Just like that, and we'll just stir it in. And then obviously I'm going to need to add a little bit more water to the mix. Just enough for it to expand. If your fermented brine goes rancid, you can use it as a liquid fertilizer for your plants to boost their health throughout the growing season. You can also add it to compost piles to give them a kickstart, or just to simply add nutrients. All right, so let's do a recap. Today we covered how to make fermented feed, how much to give, containers to use, which feed types to use, how to avoid mold or bad smells, and other tips. Did I miss something you've been wondering about? If so, please drop it below in the comment section. Who knows, I might include it in a follow-up video. If this helped you, give it a like, share it with a fellow chicken keeper, and hit subscribe for more practical homestead tips. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. God bless you in Jesus' name. Bye-bye. I've always wondered what this stuff tastes like, so give it a little taste. Ooh. Well, it definitely has a fermented taste to it, that's for sure.